Hi, Pastor John. My brother died just 3 months ago in Boston, and I have a family member who constantly talks about Peter being up in heaven and looking down on us and watching over us and that kind of thing. When I try to share the gospel with her, she responds with, "I'll believe what I want to believe, and you believe what you believe." I've left her a Bible, which she kind of doesn't want to read. And since she's obviously still grieving for my brother with the loss of him, is there a more compassionate manner I can share with her? Or could you tell me specific scripture to share with her that she might be open to? Thank you.
Good question, Frankie. And let me give you the straightforward answer. What she needs to understand is the gospel. She needs to understand the gospel. And she needs to understand the truth that saves, okay? Because apart from that, there is no comfort. There's no real comfort. There's no comfort in saying, well, maybe someday you're going to meet your husband in hell. There's no comfort in that. And there's no way you can assure her of anything. The only thing you can do is give her the gospel. And I say this, I want to say it in as broad a sense as I can. I don't care what the exigency is, what the trouble is, what the pain is, what the loss is, what the suffering is. That is not the time to concede to their emotional weakness. That is the time to give them the gospel. And while at that time it might offend, that is the only way they will ever be saved. As you heard in the testimony tonight, faith comes by hearing the word about Christ. So in the moments of greatest sensitivity, you give them the truth that saves. If they're offended by it, then so be it. But at least they now know it. And I would take those opportunities that seem perhaps to be the time when you want to be hypersensitive and you want to back off and make sure you don't say anything that offends anybody. I would take the very opposite approach. Lovingly, graciously, kindly, I would say, I can help you to view death completely in a different way. I can show you a way to live anticipating your death with joy. I can show you a way that you know you will leave this world to an infinitely more glorious and fulfilled life, and give the gospel on that positive note, understanding that without the gospel, that person's not going to be saved then or any other time. That's your opportunity. So, I think that's how you make the most of that moment. Comforting scriptures, where's that comfort going to come from? What verses are going to comfort a non-Christian who in her own heart has no hope, who in her own heart is insecure, having all kinds of doubts and fears? That kind of comfort that you would just bring on a very temporal and temporary basis isn't really what that person needs. So I think all those times of extremity call for the clarifying gospel. And then in the future, at whatever time the Lord's Spirit may prompt that heart, that's going to be there. Because the glory of the gospel, when it's presented simply and directly, is not likely to be completely forgotten. Knowing you, I'm quite confident that you would have done everything in terms of love and kindness and sensitivity and tenderness and compassion to deal with her, because that's the kind of person you are. I know you're that way because you're that way with me. And so I know that's your heart. So you couldn't fail in that. I think the only failure that can come is if in times like that we fail to make the gospel clear. So that if that is the time the Spirit of God would prompt the heart, that can take place, and if it's another time, at least the gospel seed is planted there.